Hey, and welcome back. Hello, and welcome back. Happy Wednesday. For those that are joining us for the first time today, Aurelia, ma'am, where have you been all my life? Hello. I have missed you. Hi. Hey, Susan. Good to see you back, too. Good to see you back. Hey, Henny. Welcome back. And Donnie. Hi, guys. Hi. Are you guys having a fabulous Wednesday? I apologize I did not make it back at 2 p.m. Hey, Morgana. Yeah, things did not go as planned. The children had other ideas. So, Aurelia says, howdy. I've been here off and on, just not chatting much. Been crazy busy. No worries, honey. I was just giving you, you know, hard time. But I'm glad to see you. Glad to see you. Hi, hi, hi. So, if you were with us in the last stream, we watched the verdict for Natalie Cochran. I had to think for a minute. I was like, wait a minute, what's her name? Natalie Cochran. And then we started watching some of the opening statements in this Colin Griffith trial that just started. And I had to cut the stream short because kiddo's math class was starting. She's currently doing virtual learning at the moment. But anyway, we stopped and I had planned to do another stream, you know. So I wanted to go back and finish up on the prosecution's openings on Colin Griffith. Let me, before I forget, put my trigger warning banner up because, dude, man, that prosecution, he was like painting a very vivid picture in our imaginations of the situation, right? Lord have mercy. If anybody can paint a picture with their words, it's that prosecutor. Hey, Sherry, good to see you back, friend. Friend. Oh, Colin G is an interesting one. You ain't kidding. So, I wanted to do that. And then I kind of wanted to peep in over at the Aurelia, the Natalie verdict was actually spoiler alert. I'll give you to the count of 3 if you want to watch that. Anybody in the chat that does not want a spoiler on the Natalie Cochran verdict, I'll give you to the count of 3 to mute yourselves. And then give me a couple minutes and then come back. So 3, 2, 1. Guilty. She was found guilty. Guilty. They're having the they call it, I guess, in West Virginia, the mercy whatever, where the jury will determine if she gets parole or not. So, that's that. If she does get parole, she can get the judge said eligibility for parole in 15 years. I'm like, daggone. For a first degree murder? Okay. Okay. I don't know. But anyway, there you have it. There you have it. And it was so funny because I got on late this morning with the stream and was like, you know, we'll kind of haul around to wait for this verdict. And then all of a sudden, boom, like the stream, I had been streaming for like 10 minutes when the verdict came in. I was like, we couldn't have timed that any better. You guys that were on my last live stream too, if you remember the ladybug that was hanging out on my hand lotion bottle, she's still here, but now she's over here on my laptop, just piddling around, minding her own business. Oh, she's just flying around here, there, and yonder. Anyway, I'm going to resume playing where we ended of the prosecution's opening statement for Colin Griffith. And I'll have to bounce around it because it's court TV and they're adding in their commentary here and there. And I don't want them to like get mad at me for sharing their stream. Give her a drink of water. Well, she's just climbing around, hanging out. You want to be my coffee date today, little ladybug? I don't know that she's actually a ladybug as much as that other kind of bug that looks like a ladybug. Give her a drink of water with sugar. She's flying all over the place right now. Okay, here we go. Let's go.
Shelf that took under 30 minutes. Weed eat the backyard and clean your room because bugs were in the candy you had all over. Remember, you chose this. You have 10 minutes to call me and fix this, Colin. When the defendant read that text, his anger level just rose even more. Later that same afternoon, Kathy pressed it even more. And she sent a text to her mom, Susan Detman. And mind you, the location where the defendant had run to was Susan's house, his grandma's house. She was down in the Keys at one of her houses, so Colin had free range of the place. Hey, no rules, nothing to do. He could do whatever he wants to do. Nobody's even there to supervise him. And that's why he would like to go places where there were no supervision. I mean, specifically his grandma's. So Susan was in contact with the defendant because she was driving up from the Keys, and the defendant was staying at the house there. So Kathy texted Susan a similar text message. And she texted her mom, Colin's grandmother, tell Colin the recordings of him admitting to killing, and then she stated who the person was, and planning the murder. There are 4 different instances from my Ring camera are all going to Bob, Susie, Amanda, and Chris at 3 p.m.
Hey, April. On your lunch break, hey. Good to see you. Hi.
Today, plus the recovered audio from Chuck's iCloud where Colin told his dad he hated me and I was an evil bitch are being sent too.
We are, Margaret, we
Dad
are.
is sending me his recordings of Colin telling him how he planned my murder back in February. Audio, video, emails, texts, and phone records are all being sent. For the record, no, you cannot have a single one. Your attorney can request them, so can Colin's. You're going to see that afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, in an eerie video, Kathy changes her clothes. I mean, you're not going to see her change her clothes, but you're going to see she appears in the exact clothes that her son would kill her in just mere hours later. And you're going to see that she had on some blue jean shorts. She had on a black t-shirt with a coffee motif. And she had a nice leather purse / backpack over her shoulder. And she left the house.
Well, April, this is a true crime channel, man. This is a true crime channel. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. And there's a trigger warning rolling at the bottom of the screen. I know. We were saying, April, I was actually saying a while ago, we were just checking in on this trial because it just started. And this prosecutor, I was just saying at the very beginning, that this prosecutor knows how to paint a very vivid picture with his words. And I'm like, like things nightmares are made of, right? I know. I know.
And she was not happy. She was not happy at her mom. She was not happy at Colin. But she had one thing that she wanted to accomplish, which was not to do her son any harm, but to get him home so they could continue being mother and son. So she made the drive from Port Charlotte to Polk County. And you're going to hear that at a certain point, she arrived sometime in the ballpark of 5 o'clock, shortly before the defendant would murder her. Now, there were two ladies across the street in separate houses, but you have the grandmother's house on one side of the street, and then basically the two neighbors that lived across the street from the grandma.
You know, Aurelia, someone was in the other stream that I had earlier today, and they said the same, that they had stopped watching the testimony for a little bit just to give it some time so they could speed through, because they said it was kind of a slow progression at the start. So I don't know. Twisted interesting, though. I like twisted interesting. That's always good, right?
Two nice ladies you'll hear from. But they both kind of independently saw and heard things. And you're going to hear that at around 5 o'clock, and one of the witnesses, I believe it was Miss Sally Bell, she remembers the time frame because she was about to leave for church.
State still going there. A lot of details to already take in mind.
Yeah, we missed what Law and Crime Network had on from the beginning of their stream. Was, I don't know how much of her opening statement was cut off, because their stream starts somewhere in the defense's opening, and like I said, I don't know how much of that we missed. But
as jurors are first hearing,
we scooch past some of their commentary.
And she and her husband, you'll hear that they always like to leave right around 5 o'clock or touch before 5 in order to get to church and to talk to people and get a seat. So around 5 o'clock, these two ladies, Sally Bell and Nancy Jones, independently,
Hey, Cherie.
they're just at their houses. They see Kathy and they see the defendant, and they're having an obvious argument. They also see that Kathy is not doing anything violent to the defendant, but she's animated, and the defendant is animated. And then they saw the defendant grab his mom by the hair and start dragging her from the driveway carport into the house. And as that happens, Kathy is telling her son, Colin, stop, let go, let go. Let go of me, you're hurting me. And that's the last that those two neighbors saw of Kathy Griffith. That's the last anyone would see of Kathy Griffith alive.
Wow.
You're going to have an opportunity to see crime scene footage and crime scene video, and you're going to see that the violence continued and started on that day when the defendant grabbed his mom by the hair and dragged her into the house as she was saying, let me go, Colin, you're hurting me. You're going to hear and see that this mom was doing nothing violent or physical to her son, who she took care of and loved. But the defendant thought it was all right to grab his mom by the hair and yank her into the house. Well, what happened on the way to the house? Kathy, one of her AirPods falls out. It falls in the mulch. The defendant drags her into the house, infuriated. Another EarPod falls out of her other ear. You're going to see photos that Kathy would wear AirPods a lot to talk on the phone, listen to music. You're going to hear as he dragged her and was furious. You're going to see her AirPod case falls in the living room as he continues to drag her to the back of the house, letting his anger and rage come out. You're going to see the crime scene of that brutal, vicious, savage killing that I mentioned at the beginning of the opening statement. You're going to see pictures of Kathy, who came out of her flip-flops as the defendant was attacking her. You're going to see photographs of a charger that is strewn about on the floor from when the defendant was attacking her. You're going to see that same brown leather backpack / purse that was over her shoulder when the defendant was attacking her came crashing to the ground. And you're going to see that it's got blood all over the place. That when he stabbed her, she was still holding it. There's blood on the outside. There's blood on the inside. There's blood on the front, on the back, on the wallet. And you will see firsthand the carnage that Kathy suffered as she laid in the pool of blood that came out of that deep gash in her neck, compliments of her son, Colin Griffith. When all the evidence is in, ladies and gentlemen, you should come to one conclusion. That being that the just verdict is holding the defendant responsible to what he chose to do on September 8th of 2024. And that just verdict, based upon the evidence that you will see and hear, is that you find the defendant guilty of both first-degree murder and kidnapping for the crimes that he perpetrated on his own mother. Thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for the opening statements. All powerful there in the state of Florida.
Wow. Whoa. 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 That's insanity. Insanity. Oh, hey, Caroline. Hey, hey, hey. I don't think it's going to take very long for the jury to make their decision. Oh, right. So, Caroline, I'll go ahead and let you know if anybody's listening again and don't want spoilered, whatever the spoiled, then mute me. 3, 2, 1. She was found guilty. Yeah, she was found guilty. Guilty. And then tomorrow morning, they're supposed to begin. The jury is to deliberate on whether she's going to get life with or without parole. So, anyway. Okay. Now, I want to go back. to this. So this is where we ended. Yeah, Caroline, I felt like she did it. I just don't know that, you know, I, oh, there was just enough reasonable doubt for me to go with it, you know. But I don't know. I don't know. All right. So, the prosecution ended, or the defense ended her openings. Um, Looks like they take a short break. Mm. All right, and then they get ready to call their first witness up. I want to see a little bit of this. It's a pretty seal.
Mr. Levine is here for the state. Are we ready for the jury?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Bye, April. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for stopping by. How would you pronounce his last name? Abdoni? Judge Abdoni? Abdoni? I don't know. Mm-mm-mm.
Please be seated. State, call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. State calls forensic investigator Laura Ellis with the Polk County Sheriff's Office.
Step this way. Stand right here and raise your right hand for the business witness.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, step around.
Just watch your step going up. Just in the chair. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ma'am. Will you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your name for the record?
My name is Laura Ellis, Loraellis.
And where are you employed?
I'm employed at the Polk County Sheriff's Office.
Tell the jury about your education and training and experience.
I have 800 hours of on-the-job training with the Polk County Sheriff's Office, and our education is ongoing. So they offer us education as the year goes on with classes through the agency.
And what is your job title at the sheriff's office?
Forensic investigator.
What does that mean?
We respond to multiple calls for service. We obtain digital photographs, collect evidence, and process scenes as
I
needed.
turned the volume down about
Have you been to
halfway
a
and
number
it's
of
still pretty
homicide
loud. Is it loud
scenes
enough
during
for
your
you
career?
guys? Because
sir.
at full
Have you
volume
also
it was like
responded
busting
to
my
other
eardrum.
types of crime scenes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, she
Now,
does look young.
This
Morgana.
particular case, I want to direct your attention to September 8th of last year. Do you recall how you became involved with the case?
We received a call from our dispatch center requesting us to respond to the address.
Okay, good.
And where
thank
did you respond to?
77 Hewlett Drive in Auburndale.
And is that in Polk County?
Yes, sir.
Now, did you have any basic information en route to the scene?
We were just informed that we needed to respond and call in reference to a death investigation.
When you get there, what do you see first, or who do you see first?
I made contact with Detective Peters and forensic investigator Bange.
Is Detective Peters, Detective Danny Peters with the homicide division?
Correct. Yes, sir.
And did he end up being the lead detective in this case?
Yes, sir.
Without telling us anything he might have said, did he kind of give you a little briefing of what was going on?
Yes, sir.
What did you do next?
We waited for a search warrant to be obtained for the property.
And after the search warrant was obtained, did that give you legal authority to then do whatever you wanted to do to process the scene effectively?
Correct.
About what time were you there that evening?
What time did I arrive on scene?
Yes.
At approximately 19:09 hours.
All right, that's 7:09 p.m.
Yes.
Now, what was your first order of business once the search warrant was approved and you took the next step?
We started obtaining digital photographs of the scene as observed.
Were you able to see both inside the house and outside the house?
Yes.
And what type of community was it in general?
More like a senior living community. It was multiple like mobile homes.
Were the homes did they appear to be well taken care of?
Yes, sir.
Like nicely manicured lawns?
Yes.
The houses were in order?
Yes.
Now, outside the residence, did you get an opportunity to see a couple of cars that were there at the scene?
I did.
What color and what make of cars were those?
One was a white Volkswagen Jetta, and one was a black Volkswagen Jetta.
Where was the black Jetta?
It was underneath the carport on the south side of the residence.
And how about the white car?
It was in the roadway, west of the residence.
Was it parked?
Yes.
Now, have you had an opportunity previously to see States Exhibits 1 through 99? That also includes 77A and 77B?
Yes, sir.
And are those photographs that you took that document the scene and some things that you saw and impounded at the scene?
Yes, sir.
Did they fairly and accurately depict everything?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move States 1 through 99, which also includes 77A and 77B in the evidence.
Any objection? Yes, sir. They are received.
Now, in addition to that, at some later date, were you able to take some aerial photographs?
Yes, sir.
And how do you do that?
We respond to the PCSO hangar in Bartow, and then they take us via helicopter, and we fly over the area and obtain digital photographs from the helicopter.
And are those depicted in state exhibits 167 through 169, in addition to a Google map overhead?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move states 167 to 169 into evidence.
Any objection? No objection. They are received.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about, before we publish the photographs, the overhead aerial photographs. Do those show like how the neighbors' houses are situated across the street?
Yes, sir.
So kind of give a vantage point of what people might see from different locations depending on where they lived in relationship to the crime scene?
Yes, sir.
Just a quick heads up. I haven't seen any of this, so I don't know if, crime scene photos are shown or not. Trigger warning just in case. Aurelia, I know you said you were watching off and on today. Did they show anything, or are we good?
Now, in general, when you go to a crime scene, besides what you physically do, what are your objectives in terms of the integrity of the scene?
We do everything possible to protect the scene and any evidence that may be
Okay.
in it. So we pretty
you.
much limit who is in and out. It's mostly our homicide detectives as well as our forensic investigators that come in and out of the scene.
Now, the homicide detectives that are there, are they all doing like different things and have different responsibilities?
Yes.
Does anybody tell you what to do, or do you know what you need to do?
So we have a crime scene detective that typically will stay with us throughout the entire time that we're on the crime scene, and they tell us what they want us to collect or what they want specific photographs of while we're on scene.
All right, with the court's permission, I'd like to publish the photographs. Thank you. I may have some questions for you on a lot of these photographs, some perhaps not. But not surprisingly, we're going to start with State Exhibit 1. Can you see it on your screen as well?
Yes, sir.
Can you jurors as well see it? Okay. Tell the jury about what information that provides.
So this puts the date that we arrived, the time that I'm going to start taking my photographs, our case number that's provided by the agency, what kind of investigation or call that I've responded to, the address, the city, who the victim is, and who my detective for the case is.
And what time did you start taking the photographs?
21:54.
And what does that mean?
That's the military time. It was 9:54, I believe.
All right. As we continue on, State Exhibit number 2. What's this?
That is the outside of the residence.
And is the black car and the white car, the Volkswagens, are they visible there?
Yes.
State Exhibit 3. State Exhibit 4. Now, in State Exhibit 4, is there an entryway, like a doorway into the house?
There is. It's along the north side of that carport.
To the left of the black car?
Correct.
And I notice in the bottom left corner there appears to be some mulch. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
State Exhibit 5, is that the doorway you spoke of?
Correct. Yes, sir.
State Exhibit 6. Did you notice something in the mulch that caught your attention when you were documenting the scene?
Yes, sir.
State Exhibit 7. Is that a close-up of what you noticed?
Yes, sir.
And what was that?
It's a white AirPod.
State Exhibit 8. State Exhibit 9. On the trunk of the black Volkswagen appears to be something. What is that?
It is a set of keys.
Going back to State Exhibit 9, did that appear to include also a car key?
Yes, sir.
State Exhibit 10, outside, and now State Exhibit 11. The first interior shot in this sequence, that kind of situate the jury to what they're looking at.
So that's the living room of the residence?
The door that's visible kind of in the upper left-hand corner, is that the door we saw from the outside?
Yes.
So if somebody drags somebody in through near the carport, would that be the entranceway?
Objection, calls for speculation.
If somebody drags somebody in through right next to the carport, would that be the door that they would enter through?
Yes.
It appears that there's something white on the wood
Yeah,
floor.
Michelle,
Is that
we're
correct?
back.
Yes.
We're just doing a little
State Exhibit 12. Now,
trial watching.
would you describe the interior of the
Not
house?
much. I mean, I'm not planning to be here all night. I figured we would just spend a little bit. I wanted to catch up on this. Not catch up. I wanted to watch the rest of the opening statements for the Colin Griffith, which we did, and then we started the first witness, but I also want to watch the opening to the socialite gal that's Judge Bev is presiding over her trial. You know, Judge Bev. You know, this Judge Bev. That Judge Bev. This one. This Judge Bev. She got the bangs and everything. She's like a miniature Judge Bev. I'm sorry. I hate to do that because I love that little girl. That little girl is me. Yeah, Karen Reed's BFF, right? Yeah, Cherie, I don't know whose mic it is that's picking up the sounds. It sounds like papers rustling over the top of somebody's microphone or something.
House, not the actual where Kathy laid, but the rest of the house. How was it?
Very well maintained, very clean.
I wish
very
that they
organized.
would show the crime scene photos. I mean, at least the ones that don't, show her remains, but I would love to see the other photos so, can kind of put things into perspective.
State exhibit number 13. What is that?
It is another white AirPod.
Did it appear to be the matching one or similar one to the one found in the mulch?
Yes.
State exhibit 14. Do you know what that is?
It is the case for the earbuds.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but so the AirPod outside, the AirPod inside, and the case for the AirPods, once you get inside, does that start going back towards where you ended up finding Kathy on the floor?
Yes.
State exhibit 15. What do you see kind of in the background there? Where does that pathway lead to? If you go all the way back, does that enter the kitchen?
It does, yes.
Now, in your route to the kitchen, did anything look like it was knocked over or messed up, or did everything look pretty clean and in place?
It looks pretty clean and in place.
State exhibit 16. Is this a picture of the kitchen?
Yes.
Now, the island, the bar, the island there, is the victim on the other side of that.
Yes.
That's a sliding door there. Is that a sliding glass door?
Yes, sir.
State exhibit 17. That's an entryway and an exitway.
Yes.
All right, now state exhibit 18. To the left of that sliding glass door, are there a washing machine and dryer maybe?
Yes.
Did you see a knife at the scene?
Yes.
And is that knife visible in that photograph?
Yes.
This is state exhibit 19. Is that a closer up of what appears to be a bloody knife?
Yes.
State exhibit 20. State exhibit 21. Is this a close-up of that same bloody knife?
Yes.
Now, the jurors may see for the first time a yellow marker with the number 10 on it. What does that mean?
It's how we show where evidence is in our photos, so it gives a better layout of where everything is in reference to each other.
Did you impound that knife?
Yes.
Have you had an opportunity to take a look at State Exhibit 199?
Yes.
And is that the knife, the bloody knife from the scene?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move State Exhibit 199 into evidence.
Any objection? It is received.
Now, does the knife, and in a moment you'll have an opportunity to show the jury the knife, but does the knife look different today as opposed to when it's in the picture there?
Yes.
And why is that?
May I refer to my report?
Yes, ma'am.
On Wednesday, January 22nd, Detective Peters placed the knife into a temporary evidence locker in the Forensic Investigations Office for me to process for possible latent prints.
And when you process an item for latent prints, describe to the jury what's the process and what does that mean?
So in this case in particular, I took a chemical agent called Sudan Black, which helps us see latent prints that may possibly be in blood.
And what are latent prints?
Latent prints are fingerprints that are left behind from the oils on your hands.
So hypothetically, if somebody puts their thumbprint on something, you might be able to visibly see some prints?
Possibly.
Or perhaps doing what you were doing, you might be able to lift some prints that might not quite be visible to the human eye?
Yes.
Now, before that knife got to you for that work request, had it previously gone to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
Yes.
And at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, do they process evidentiary items for the presence of DNA and/or fingerprints, depending on what the request is?
Yes.
And without saying anything about any results or anything, but did FDLE do their analysis on the knife for DNA before you did your fingerprint analysis?
Yes.
Now, do the detectives under a crime scene have to kind of think about which one to do first, or if both are feasible?
It's up to the lead detective on the case, if they want us to process it first or if they would like it to go to FDLE first.
And is that a calculated decision that the detective could speak about?
Yes.
Now, so tell the jury about what did you actually do? I know you described it a little bit. What's that process like?
So it is a chemical agent that is black in color, and we cover whatever the area is that's covered in apparent blood. We cover it in that chemical. We let it sit for a minute, and then we wash it off, and we can also repeat it to try and darken any possible latent prints on the item.
Where do you do that?
I did it at the Forensic Investigations Office in Winter Haven.
And that's a secure, clean place?
Yes.
After you did all that, what were your results?
I was met with negative results.
Does that mean there were no latent prints that you were able to see or lift that could be compared to anything?
Yes.
And did you have an opinion about, is it difficult to get latent prints after an item's already been processed for DNA?
I don't particularly have an opinion on that.
Okay. So at the end of your results, in essence, you couldn't decide that there was anybody's fingerprints on that knife, correct?
Correct.
And are there certain reasons why somebody may leave a fingerprint or not leave a fingerprint?
Yes.
And fingerprints are not always left on an item, correct? Even if somebody handles it?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
All right. Your Honor, could forensic investigator Ellis get off the witness stand to show the jury the knife? Thank you. For the record, the State Exhibit 199 will be shown to the jury by Investigator Ellis.
Ladies and gentlemen, I do want to advise you that any item that's received in evidence will go back with you to the jury room during deliberations, so you'll have plenty of time to examine anything that's received. But from time to time, the parties may wish to publish evidence here in open court.
Okay, make sure all the jurors can see it, and then you can have a seat. All right, thank you, Ms.
Yes.
All right, we'll continue on with the photographs. State Exhibit number 22. Now, what is approximately the total length of that knife, blade and handle?
12 inches or 1 foot.
And then in terms of the actual knife blade, approximately how many inches is the knife blade?
It's approximately 7.
You said 7 inches?
Yes, sir.
Now, State Exhibit 23, could you situate us to, if you continue to the left on that photograph, where are you headed towards?
Back towards that living room area.
The living room and then eventually the door that we saw earlier?
Yes.
And does that give a view of what you were describing in 24?
Yes.
25. What begins to be visible in State Exhibit 25?
The victim.
Now, on the left side of the photograph, is that some of the sliding glass door blinds?
Yes.
So is it a fair statement her head seems to be fairly close to that,
Hey, Mary
that
Lou.
area?
Yes.
Hi.
Above her head on the floor, what is that pictured?
It's a brown hearse backpack.
All right, State Exhibit 26. Is that who you would later find out to be Kathy Griffith?
Yes.
The blood that you noticed at this scene, is that one of the first pictures of the blood and how high it went?
Yes.
Is it a fair statement that the blood didn't go super high up on the walls or the cabinets, but seemed more down low?
Yes.
27. Now in 27, what's the white thing and the gray thing by her head?
So the white thing is a towel, and the gray thing is a shirt.
Is the neck or the stab wound visible a little bit there?
Yes.
It's on the right side of her neck, is that correct?
Yes.
28, as we get closer to the purse / backpack you described, was blood clearly visible all over it?
Yes.
And that surface area, is that kind of what, if somebody put it on their back, that would be touching their back?
Yes.
29. I want to ask you about, in this upper corner here, your upper right-hand corner, there appears to be coagulated blood, is that correct?
Yes.
What does coagulated mean?
It's when blood has been sitting for quite a bit of time, it starts to gather together.
Did you document also the blood inside and outside the purse?
Yes.
Is that blood between the deputy's wrists there?
Yes.
Is that blood all in the interior of the purse as well?
Yes.
For the record, that's State Exhibit 31. State Exhibit 32. State Exhibit 33. What's that pink zipper pouch?
It was a makeup bag that she had within the brown purse backpack.
Did it appear there was blood on that as well?
Yes.
34. Does that show a wallet?
Yes.
35. Is there blood on that wallet?
Yes.
36. Whose driver's license and whose picture is that?
That's the victim's driver's license.
Were you able to determine, obviously, that the purse and the contents were Kathy's?
Yes.
37. Was Kathy wearing basically a black T-shirt and some jean shorts?
Yes.
Was she also at one point wearing some Under Armour flip-flops?
I do not know if she was wearing Under Armour flip-flops at one point.
Did you see some Under Armour flip-flops close to her body?
Yes.
But how they got there, you're unaware?
Correct.
Now, it appears that her arm from approximately her upper forearm / elbow area is obstructed. Was her arm under something?
Yes. Her arm was under the kitchen island.
38. Is that the neck wound?
Yes.
39, 40, 41. Tell the jury about why do you put a ruler up next to the neck wound?
It shows length and width.
No worries, Miss King. Honey, I was late too. I was telling when I first got started, I planned to go on it too, but then I got sidetracked by the kids. Like I said, they had other plans. So, I think we're going to switch gears and hop over to the other one because I want to give the other one a listen to on the openings. Let's go look and see if I can find it. We'll keep this one in our back pocket just in case, you know, we decide we want to watch it. Where was that other one at?
Justin Baldoni.
Okay. Ba-da-ba-bum, ba-dum. Hold on a second. I'm looking for the other one. Okay. Now it says New England Socialite Trial, Massachusetts v. Penelope McGee. Let me see if I can find day one, because I think Miss King said she saw day one somewhere. I'm not seeing it. No, I'm not seeing it. Sorry, guys. I'm looking, but I'm not seeing it. Okay, let me share this tab. Oh, let me see. Miss King says I was watching a trial from California. The prosecutor opening statement was a day and a half. Statement. To short day 2. I saw day 1 through another channel I've not seen before. Not sure if you want me to say. Oh, you can say what channel it was, Miss King. I just don't, I can't find it by looking on YouTube. I can't find day 1, you know? Yeah, the socialite trial, yes. The defense rests. Okay. I'll have to go there and look. Maybe see where they got it from. But we can check out this. There's like a 20-minute video of it says, oh nope, that's the wrong one. Hold on, where's it at? Here it is, socialite manslaughter trial opening statements. We can see this. Hold on, I have to share, present, share. Okay. All right. So we can watch this. I don't know how much of it is, you know, but it looks like they have an 18-year-old daughter that testifies. Oh. Yeah, I'm not sure, Miss King. I'll have to go look. And Court TV may have it uploaded as a regular video if they've like bits and pieced it together, you know, instead of live streaming it. But let's take a look at this opening, see what we can make of it.
On January 28th of 2020, 5 years ago today, the Savitz family lost a beloved brother and father, Andrew Savitz. Throughout the course of this...
Ooh, I have no idea, Rosebud. I have not seen that. Have you seen that brawl that took place in Dalton with Mayor Tiffany Henyard? No, I don't even know anything. I don't know what. Nothing about that. No clue. Sounds interesting, though.
Trial, you are going to hear that Mr. Savitz passed away after an altercation with his ex-wife, the defendant before you today, Penelope McGee. You are going to hear throughout this trial that Mr. Savitz was in quite ill health, having suffered a stroke, been in 2 car accidents, he had diabetes, and was experiencing memory loss and trouble with his peripheral vision. But most notably, Your Honor, Mr. Savitz suffered from severe cardiovascular disease, including a 90% stenosis of the right coronary artery. You will learn about Mr. Savitz through his brother John, or about Mr. Savitz's medical condition, through his brother John Savitz, 4 sets of medical records that Your Honor will have a chance to review, including Beth Israel records from the auto accident, the Joslin Diabetes Center, his treatment at Mass Ioneer and the Newton Wellesley Hospital, as well as you will hear about his condition from the medical examiner that performed the autopsy, Dr. Rebecca Diedrich. You will also hear from Andrew Savitz's brother, John Savitz, that Ms. McGee was aware of all of these conditions and the ill health of Mr. Andrew Savitz on the date of this incident. You will see emails and text messages to John Savitz from Penelope McGee updating him on Andy's various conditions, medical conditions, medications, and medical appointments. You will also hear that Ms. McGee was the healthcare proxy to Mr. Andrew Savitz. Then you're going to hear from Andrew Savitz's daughter, Zuzi Savitz.
Zuzi.
She's going to tell you
What a
what she
name.
saw happen that night on January 28th of 2020. Zuzi heard her mother come over to the home at 40 Meadowbrook Road in Brookline, where she was living with her father and her younger brother, Harry. Zuzi Savitz heard her parents arguing that night when her mother came to the house, and she could hear yelling and screaming, and when she went downstairs, she could see that her parents were in an argument. She heard something break, which we later found out, the court will find out, was a ceramic bowl. You'll see pictures of that broken bowl. But Zuzi's going to tell you she heard something break, and she went back upstairs to get her phone to call 911. She's going to tell you.
Her attorney from the side view, I don't know what he looks like from the front view, but from the side, his profile, he looks like that actor. Can't think of his name. Oh, shoot. Somebody help me out. If it's obvious to any of you, I can't remember his name. Or even what he played in. He's been in so many things. Hey, Toxic Orchid. Good to see you. Hey. Oh, my God. No, not Billy Bob Thornton. No. Oh, it'll come to me. Trying to think of something that he was on. It'll come to me. Okay, we'll do Toxic. See that, Margaret? I can't remember. There was so many things he played in. Oh my God. I'm having a complete brain, like, it'll come to me.
Tell you that she got her phone from her bedroom, called 911, and as she was coming down the stairs, she could see her parents in the hallway by the end of the stairs at the house towards the front door, and she saw her mother hitting and shoving her father against a wall where there was a sliding closet, and you're going to hear the 911 call, Your Honor. You're going to hear Zuzi telling her parents to stop. And then in the middle of that phone call, Zuzi's going to tell you she heard she saw her father collapse to the ground, and Ms. McGee started trying to give him CPR. Zuzi was calling the ambulance to come quickly. The paramedics arrived. The Brookline police arrived. You're going to hear from the paramedic. You're going to hear from the responding officer from the Brookline police, all of whom tried to administer CPR and tried to resuscitate Mr. Savitz. Mr. Savitz was brought to the Beth Israel Hospital, where you're going to hear from the emergency room doctor that also treated him and tried to revive him, and ultimately pronounced him deceased at 12:14 a.m. In the early morning hours of January 29th of 2020. Lastly, Your Honor, you are going to hear from the medical examiner, Dr. Rebecca Diedrich. Dr. Diedrich is going to explain to you how Mr. Savitz's conditions prevented his heart from handling the fight or flight response that was happening during the altercation with Ms. McGee. Dr. Diedrich is going to tell you her opinion as to what the official cause of death was of Mr. Andrew Savitz. She's going to explain that her opinion is that he suffered from cardiac dysrhythmia following an altercation in a person with hypertensive and atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease and diabetes mellitus. Andrew Savitz was in ill health. His diabetes and cardiovascular disease was severe, and Penelope McGee knew it. Despite Mr. Savitz's condition, Ms. McGee went over to his house on the night of January 28, 2020. She was yelling and screaming, hitting and shoving him. His heart couldn't handle the stress of the altercation, and he collapsed and passed away. After you hear
That's it,
all
Margaret.
of this evidence, Your
That's
Honor,
it.
I am confident
Willem
that you will
Dafoe.
find Penelope McGee.
Yeah. Yep. That's who it is. Yes. Yep. Yep. That's who he looks like. And I'm trying to think of the movie that remember I said he's been in so many things. But I can't remember off the top of my head like what it is that so many things. So many things. Oh, bye, Aurelia. From the side, Margaret, yes. Just from the side. Yes. I haven't seen him face on, but from the side, he looks like Willem Dafoe.
McGee guilty as charged.
Thank you very much.
All right, so that was the state's open. You're going to see these a lot briefer than.
Okay. Let's hear what the defense has to say.
Time to hear from her defense attorney.
The evidence will show that Ms. McGee was married to the deceased for approximately 15 years, and they divorced about 6 years before this incident. That nonetheless, the evidence will show that they continued to work together to raise 3 children.
Okay, so here we go. From the side, he looks like Willem Dafoe, and from the front, he looks like James Woods.
Get their children into college. They talked frequently, almost daily sometimes. At some point, Ms. McGee moved into a home that was owned by the brother-in-laws of the deceased. It was in Brookline. It was close by. It was close by the Meadowbrook home where Mr. Savitz also resided. She lived there in Randolph with her 3 children. At some point, the brother-in-laws chose to evict her. They did so. That eviction was formalized on January 3rd, 2020. During that same time, the days leading up to January 3rd, you'll hear evidence that both Mr. Savitz and Ms. McGee worked continually together as they sought to get their daughter Susie in college. They talked frequently. She ran errands for him, he ran errands for her. At that time, January 3rd, 2020, he was working, he was traveling, he was enjoying his life. One of his things he liked to do was gamble. He did that. He was functioning. He also texted, and even the evidence will show that he invited Ms. McGee to reside at Meadowbrook while she looked for other housing. But there was an issue. The evidence will show that there was a significant issue of the relationship that had deteriorated between Ms. McGee and her daughter. So there was an arrangement made. She could not appear at Meadowbrook unless her daughter was up in her room and in bed, maybe studying. And they both abided by it. Backing up a little bit, you'll hear that around August 18th of 2019, Mr. Savitz told his ex-wife he'd been in a car accident, a serious one. The car was totaled. He went to the hospital. Medical records that we introduced into evidence will show that he didn't listen to medical advice. And in fact, in the words of the hospital records, he eloped. He left. Ms. McGee found out about it, talked to her ex-husband, got him an immediate appointment at his personal care physician, Dr. Mann. Got him to see Dr. Mann within a day. Dr. Mann said, I think he has some problems or words of that effect that are contained in the medical records, and recommended that Mr. Savitz go to the emergency room because of cognitive issues and a question of whether he would suffer a stroke. They did that. Who did that? Ms. McGee. She took him immediately to the emergency room. Any question about whether Ms. McGee knew about certain medical conditions of Mr. Savitz is somewhat beside the point, because the evidence will show that she cared for him for days and weeks following the car accident and the diagnosis of stroke. She moves in. She's allowed to stay in Middleburg. She's allowed to stay in her older son's bedroom upstairs with that condition that the evidence will show. Her older son, Noah, had now left home to go to college at Drexel in Pennsylvania. On January 20th, Mr. Savitz was in yet another car accident, this time while he was driving their younger son, Harry. He reported it to his brother-in-laws, and the evidence will show that Ms. McGee was worried about that, concerned about that. Notwithstanding that they totaled in the accident, Mr. Savitz totaled his son Noah's car, but the fact that Harry was in the car, the youngest. And so she had a discussion. And there will be evidence of that. Importantly, though, the evidence will show that with regards to the causation and manner of death, as the Commonwealth just told the court expects to introduce, the relevant literature says that the physiological issue that Dr. Diedrich will testify to can occur as a result of motor vehicle accidents. Because it's the way the body responds hormonally to the stress associated with such an event. So there is a car accident, a serious one in August, where a car is totaled, but there is no heart attack. There is no cardiac arrest. There's a second motor vehicle accident in January 20th. There is no cardiac event. Why is that important? Because when you look at the hundreds, if not thousands of pages of records that are already introduced, or we agreed to introduce them in total, you won't see one reference in hundreds of pages of any complaints about chest pain, defibrillation, any diagnosis of cardiac issues other than high blood pressure, sometimes referred to as hypertension. That's it. No medication, no complaints from Mr. Savitz about anything wrong with his heart other than the high blood pressure. Why is all this important? Because the evidence will show that Ms. McGee cared for Mr. Savitz and got him back into good health, and then interacted with him as if he was in good health. And she took pains to make sure he was in good health. And so it contradicts what the evidence the Commonwealth presumes to admit and presumes to state, that she conducted herself that night on January 28th of 2020 with a disregard for the likelihood that her conduct would result in substantial harm. What happened that night? Text messages show that about 7:30 on January 28th, there was a communication between Mr. Savitz and Ms. McGee. He said, I'm paraphrasing now, but the evidence will show that he said, I expect you to come over Would you take your shoes off when you climb up the stairs? And that was all part of that arrangement, where Miss McGee could stay up in Noah's room as long as Susie was not, the daughter, was not in her room. Because there was.
Has anybody else sang Me and Bobby McGee since we've been watching this? Raise your hand if you have. Me and Bobby McGee. Okay, so Toxic dropped in here a while ago and had me check my Discord. You guys, as the gavel drops, is now on Twitter. Well, X, but I'm going to put Twitter. If you use X, please make sure to go follow them over there. I'm putting the link in the chat. For your convenience. Very cool, very cool, very cool. Very, very cool. Thank you for letting me know, Toxic. Thank you, thank you. Twitter is where, yeah. I get lots of notifications from Twitter every day. Okay, let's get back to this real quick.
There's friction. And also during the day, the text messages will show that Mr. Savitz made some very upsetting and disparaging remarks to Miss McGee as he rehashed the eviction. And it upset her. But it was just more of the same, and they worked through this before, as the text messages showed. And so she drove over there, parked her car, went in to see if Susie was upstairs before she could go inside, and she was upstairs. The evidence would show that Mr. Savitz then asked Miss McGee, sit down on the living room couch, watch TV. They started to do that. They had some conversations about some behavioral issues with Susie. And that's when Mr. Savitz began to become upset. The evidence will show that then the conversation turned to this text where Mr. Savitz had somewhat ridiculed Miss McGee about the eviction for Randolph Street. And that is when he told Miss McGee to get out of the house. And he raised his voice. And he demanded that she leave. And Miss McGee got up from the living room couch, was headed to her coat, was laid over the back of the couch back. And before she could reach it, Mr. Savitz grabbed her at some point on her body and pushed her into the living room wall that you'll see in so many of the photographs. Then what ensued after that was a yelling match where Mr. Savitz demanded she leave and began to push her into the kitchen area. Pushed her against some tables that contained, as the photograph showed, any number of dishes. And one such dish fell over and apparently smashed onto the floor. And he continued to push her. And he continued to grab her. And the path that he was making was a path directly to the front door. And now he was grabbing her hair. And he pushed her against the refrigerator. He pushed her into the area of the stove. All of which, as he was pushing her toward the front door. And now he had a hold of her body, he had a hold of her hair, and he was simply trying to get her out of the house, and she was moving backwards, not understanding what was happening. All of this happening in a short period of time, with yelling and chaos. And as she tried to defend herself, and only defend herself, Mr. Savitz collapsed. Where does he collapse? He collapsed right near the front door. The front door that he was pushing, fighting Miss McGee. He collapsed. He fell to the ground. And what did Miss McGee do? The evidence will show part of it coming from the 911 call made by her daughter.
Oh boy, so he's saying this is a self-defense case, that she was defending herself.
That's what he's saying.
Changed her findings. And as a result of that, the allegations against that.
He even looks like Willem Dafoe right in the face. I thought maybe James Woods, and kinda does, but he is a ringer for Willem Dafoe. Just saying.
That particular person charged with the death of Aston Trooper was, in the parlance of legal terms, no cause. They ended the prosecution. This is the same medical examiner that made her conclusions in this case. The evidence will show that the relevant literature that tried to address this so-called phenomena referred to as homicide by heart attack, that starting in 1978 required strict criteria to be applied by medical examiners in trying to reach the same conclusion that Dr. Diedrich reached. And then there is a 2002 guide for medical examiners that the evidence will show that is the only thing that Dr. Diedrich apparently relied on, that tells medical examiners really nothing at all. And then you'll hear evidence that the relevant literature, published 2 years later, in 2004, authored by Dr. Turner, revisits the strict criteria to be applied in these so-called homicide by heart attack cases where there is a physical touch. And one of the criteria is to determine the intent of the actor, that what the actor did to cause the harm was criminal. That's what the evidence will show. And yet, the evidence will show that this case is about self-defense, being attacked. The relevant literature will also talk about the stress reaction occurring, as I stated a minute ago, motor vehicle accidents, but also anger on behalf of the deceased in situations. Anger triggers the same physiological response that Dr. Diedrich talks about, that she rests on finding her opinion and making a homicide finding. Respectfully, Judge, we believe that once you consider all of the evidence and all the testimony, that based on the science and based on the lack of reliable assessments made by Dr. Diedrich, you will find Ms. McGee unguilty. Thank you.
All right. I don't know, folks. I don't know, folks. And I believe, was it Miss King that you said that this was a bench trial and not a jury trial, too? I think so. Oh, hold on a minute. Kiddo needs me. Okay. kiddo was like, "Here, Mom." She had a couple Amazon packages for me. Her daddy got home, checked the mail, and she brought me a couple Amazon packages that I was waiting on. So, this is a bench trial, which means Judge Bev is the one who will be deciding her fate. So, I don't know. What do you guys say we do? Come tomorrow. Well, tomorrow I want to watch the Mercy part of Natalie Cochran. But then we need to decide what we want to do after that, right? So, I don't want to put up a poll, but you guys in the chat here can just let me know your thoughts. Are you thinking sorry, I'm waiting on him to come in here any second to like say something. Okay, he's in there fighting with her over the remote. She's the high squealingest girl ever. She's so squealy. So Griffith, the kid, the 17-year-old Colin Griffith, socialite, or I don't know what else is coming up. I mean, I'm really waiting towards the end of February, like another month from now, for Stephen Stearns, if that goes on through. I mean, a lot can happen between now and then, I guess, but thoughts? Henny says Griffith. What say you guys? What say you guys? I'm going to do my nails. I don't know if you can see them because I've already, like, taken them out of the box. But there's these really pretty, hold on. Miss King says day 2 of Bev is, I think, about 3 or so hours. So maybe watch that in between the Mercy. Okay, here's one of the nails. I don't think you got to see that good. It's like a natural on the bottom and then a pink glittery at the top. They're pretty. Pretty. It's the Kiss brand Gel Fantasy Dream Dust. That's what it is. So, we have one for Griffith, one for day 2 of Bev. Oh, that's kind of a good point, Miss King. Miss King says, I was really into Karen Reed and think it's interesting to see how Judge Bev is with other trials. That's true. Ooh. Yeah, I guess we could do that. It looks like day 2 was 2 hours and 7 minutes. So, anyway, Kind of scrolling through here to see. Yeah. I guess we could do... I wouldn't mind seeing how she is in another trial, you know. That's true. Plus, we would get to use our... Nope, not the Margaret one. Margaret's like, well, I didn't even do anything. Now look at that. But Bev. Yeah, we could use some of our Bev. Right? We could do that. All right, well, that'll be our plan then. So, tomorrow will be about the same time as it has been. After kiddos' virtual school stuff, probably 11, 10:30, 11, 11:30, 12, somewhere around in there. It fully depends. My ladybug friend is back. Now she's just up there walking across the top of my laptop. She's just hanging out. I don't know. She's got big plans. I think she's planning on moving in, man. Thank God she won't eat or drink much, right? All right, you guys, I'm going to scooch on out of here. And I am, however, very interested in this Colin Griffith. I'm not going to lie. That's one I'll definitely be keeping my eye on. I'm very interested in that. So, that's crazy. I know, Cherie, right? I'm going to have to start charging her rent. I love ladybugs too, Miss King. They're pretty. I'm not sold that this is an actual ladybug, though. What are those things that look like ladybugs but aren't ladybugs? It's even got the little specks on it, though. I mean, it really looks like a ladybug. It's kind of more orange than red. I don't know. It's those bugs that, like, the lady-looking bugs that come out, like, from the fields, I think. When they're, like, harvesting and things. Miss King says, I am too interested in the other trial, too. Yeah. It's hard when you have more than one, right? Yeah, the brownish ones. But she's kind of more orange. You know? Very invasive, right, Morgana? Like, you'll have, like... When you have, like, cool days, when it starts turning fall, and then you have, like, really warm days, all of a sudden, they're, like, your windows are full of them. Like, I'm like, where did you all come from, you know? They're, like, always in my windows or in the corners of my bathroom, up in the ceiling, like, just hanging out in the corner. Like, piled together like they're having a revival up there or something, you know? I don't know. So, all right, youngins, I'm going to get on out of here. I'm going to go see what my husband's up to. He just got home from work a little bit ago. Get dinner started. Figure out if we're going to have gumbo or jambalaya. I don't know which yet, but that's what I'm going to do. After I do my nails, I need to do my nails too. So, I will see you tomorrow. Make sure to hit that thumbs up before you leave. Subscribe if you're new. Click that notification bell and put a hashtag replay in the comments down below if you're watching this on the replay. All right? I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.